Hey there, I'm Mr. Terry. I'm a high school history teacher, and welcome back to another History Teacher Reacts video. All right, new channel for me to check out today that's been recommended to me, Brandon Herrera. And he's been getting recommended to me. And when I checked out his channel, I saw this video blowing up over the last month. It's titled, "The Government Nuked North Carolina Twice." Okay, this is a story I need to learn about, and I want you to come along with me. Now, the video is going to be linked down below. Make sure you're supporting this channel. Give the video a view, like, subscribe. Okay, let's get to it. All right, do I need to put the helmet on for this one? I don't want to get nuked. All right, let's check this out.
Mild stomping ground of North Carolina is known for many things. Beautiful mountains, relaxing beaches, methamphetamine abuse, and plenty of rich history dating back to before even the founding of this great nation. What you probably don't know, though, is that in the 1960s, the government accidentally nuked North Carolina. Twice.
My first thoughts was this when atmospheric testing was banned, so they started doing the underground testing?
The military literally dropped 2 nukes on rural North Carolina by mistake, and somehow this isn't something that we all just know about. So in this video, I'm going to explain what happened,
I'm intrigued,
how it happened, and why the Tar Heel State isn't a giant Fallout server.
Yeah,
so let's start from the beginning. It's the early 1960s, and I'm sure you're aware of what global crisis was center stage during this time period. That's right. John Lennon. But aside from that, we were in the middle of the Cold War. The United States was in a global standoff with the Soviet Union, trying to stop the spread of communism. It was espionage, proxy wars, and scariest of all, both sides were stockpiling nuclear weapons like it was going out of style. You see, after Oppenheimer did the whole "I am become death, destroyer of worlds" bit, apparently flabbergasted at the idea that his big fucking bomb that was designed to do big fucking bomb things was going to be used against the people it was specifically designed to blow up.
No, he knew. He knew what was going on. He had the dilemmas about it. What he was hoping is that by using this bomb, or that if they, use this bomb again on Japan, that that would be the end of it. That everyone seeing that destruction would say, all right, let's like globally ban it. And what ended up happening is the exact opposite.
Nuclear weapons were emerging as the super weapon of a new age, a nuclear age, an age of fear. And again, the Beatles. So you would think that the United States government, now possessing a stockpile of these weapons that could potentially,
he's giving me
end all fucking life on the planet, would be treating these weapons with the utmost care, ensuring that these weapons would never be treated carelessly in a way that could cause catastrophe and endanger the lives of civilians.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
You don't know much about the government, do you?
You got a lot of guns in the background.
Today we're talking about the time that America accidentally dropped a thermonuclear.
What? I nailed that one. I was like, he's giving me the same kind of vibes. Military dude, get some humor in. By the way, I'm loving Fat Electrician. Commented on a couple of his videos for the first time.
Warhead on Greenland. Once upon a time in 1960, during the Cold War, America would receive intelligence that the Soviet Union had upwards of 300 intercontinental ballistic missiles. This meant that theoretically, the Soviet Union had enough ICBMs to be able to take out every American airfield all at once, meaning that America would not be able to scramble planes to go and return the favor, which violates the entire concept of the Cold War. The Cold War only remained cold due to the concept of MAD, or mutually assured destruction. Now, there's no longer mutually assured destruction.
So that means some mutually assured destruction. It's seen as a deterrent of war, that we have nukes, you have nukes, whatever it is, and then that there's enough to destroy everything. Therefore, don't do it. Right? Let's mutually assure each other, or not even each other, but it's understood that launching a nuclear weapon against another nuclear state is going to be utter destruction for everybody.
So America is open to a nuclear strike, and they need to do something immediately. Which is when the Air Force chimed in and is like, hey, I have a terrific idea. Let's take our new bomber, the B-52 Stratofortress, aka the Buff, which clearly stands for Big Ugly Fat Fuck. We're gonna throw a 1.1 megaton thermonuclear warhead in the back, and then we're just gonna do hot laps around all of North America 24/7, all day, every day. And then if there is a nuclear strike, our nukes are already in the air. That plane will make a beeline into the USSR and they'll return the favor. To which the US government is like, wow, what a terrific idea. I'll take 12. They are now going to take 12 B-52s with 1.1 megaton thermonuclear warheads on board and just do hot laps around all of North America every minute of every hour of every day between 1960 and 1968. And we're going to call this Operation Chrome Dome. For 8 fucking years, the US government is going to have 12 Buffy the Forehead Slayers doing death donuts around North America, carrying 1.1 megaton thermonuclear warheads, okay? And then they went ahead and decided to call it Operation Chrome Dome because nothing says we're about to put nuclear warheads on foreheads like the phrase Chrome Dome. You might as well call it Operation Glass your entire country. And I know what you're thinking, but wait a minute, the Cold War didn't end until 1991. Why on earth did this mission stop in 1968? Oh, it's because we accidentally dropped one of these nukes on Greenland. Yeah, while one of the B-52s was going around the east side of Canada, the heater malfunctioned, so one of the pilots had the brilliant idea that he was going to open up the vent to bleed heat directly from the engine manifold into the cabin to warm them up. Well, it proceeded to get so warm that it literally caught the upholstery of the chairs they were sitting on fire, lighting the entire cab on fire. All the pilots have to bail out. The plane goes down, then the conventional aspects of these nuclear bombs blows up on impact. The nuclear part didn't explode, thankfully. However, the conventional explosion was enough to spew radioactive material all over the fucking place. Because of that, a bunch of people got exposed to radioactive material, sparking a huge political controversy because Denmark, the owner of Greenland, comes out and they're like, the fuck? You're not even supposed to be here with nuclear weapons. What is happening right now? To which America kind of just replied, I mean, yeah, but also we're America and you're Denmark. Fucking get over it. And then pretty much nothing happened from there other than America ended Operation Chrome Dome. Thankfully, however, this was the only incident in 8 years. Well, except for that time we dropped a couple on North Carolina. And then that other time we dropped a couple on Maryland. And then that time we dropped some in California. And then there was that whole thing where we dropped some on Spain, but I think Brandon's going to tell you about those. So thanks for watching. Quack Bang out.
Thanks, Nick.
Oh man, what a great cameo to make there. That Electrician's great, man. But yeah, so this Chrome Dome plan is not going to be, obviously not going to be something that is going to ease any kind of hostilities. And in fact, that is the type of thing that, you know, we look at and look at as it's hostile actions. It doesn't look like a motion for peace or something like that. It's trying to intimidate, right? To intimidate. And there's a lot of different ways that being intimidated can go. I mean, yeah, you can fall back, but like Soviet Union, they're not going to be intimidated, right? So all it does is escalate things.
I'll take it from here. That's my buddy, the Fat Electrician. He's one of actually my personal favorite creators and a great channel for those of you guys who also love military history. As for the Spain thing, yeah, we did do that. Dropped a couple of nukes on Spain, contaminated the area with plutonium, and then lost a fourth in the ocean for a while. The 60s were not a particularly good time for...
By the way, it's actually kind of scary how many of those, how many bombs like that are unaccounted for. Have fun trying to sleep tonight.
Some of our diplomatic relationships.
The 60s weren't good to you, were they?
But anyhow, this video is specifically about the North Carolina incident because to me personally, I think it's one of the wilder ones. Maybe we'll talk about some of the other ones later. I don't know. It's up to you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. After all, it's about what you guys want to see. Anyhow, back to story time. So the year is 1961, around midnight of January 23rd. A Boeing B-52 Stratofortress was flying over eastern North Carolina. This B-52 was based out of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. The name of the base is legitimately Seymour Johnson. If you've never heard of it, you've just made the same joke in your head that everyone who was stationed there has made at some point. Anyhow, the payload that this particular B-52 was carrying was 2 Mark 39 nuclear bombs. There's some pretty serious hardware. These things weigh in at about 6,500 pounds a piece, or approximately 4 times as much as the average Austin feminist. These bombs had an explosive yield of 3.8 megatons. Doesn't sound too crazy, right? For those who don't know, 1 megaton is equal to 1 million tons of TNT. Not a million pounds, 1 million tons of TNT.
That's insane. The bomb at the end, when you think about the a few megatons that were used in like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like it dwarfs them And you're talking about stockpiling hundreds and thousands of them and then flying them around permanently around the Western Hemisphere.
The United States dropped on Hiroshima that, depending on the source, killed around 100,000 people, was only 15 kilotons.
That's what I mean.
That means that the bombs we accidentally dropped on North Carolina were about 250 times more powerful than the one we used to fucking end World War II. And this B-52 was carrying fucking 2 of them. Something worth nuking once. So back on the ranch, the B-52 was getting an aerial refueling. Aerial refueling, if you're not familiar, is when a mommy plane and a daddy plane love each other very much. So the daddy plane, yeah, basically it's a way of transferring fuel from one plane to the other to make sure that the plane that's being refueled doesn't have to land. It can just keep flying. But it was during this aerial refueling that the commander of the B-52 was informed that there was a fuel leak. Ground control was immediately informed of this leak, and the B-52 was instructed to abandon the aerial refueling and then go into a holding pattern off the coast of North Carolina to burn off the majority of its fuel. The only thing worse than an emergency landing of a giant aircraft is the emergency landing of a giant aircraft with 100,000 pounds of fuel on it.
Sure.
Suboptimal. That, and if something...
I mean, I hope people know that like what it takes to actually ignite a bomb like that is a lot more than just like it falling down or crashing. Some of these bombs take a nuclear bomb to detonate the nuclear bomb, to get that physical reaction that is required to set those off. But still the thought of it, and like you're saying, the idea that it can leak, it can still leak out upon impact, that's, you know, that is frightening.
Bad happens while it's in the air and it goes down off the coast. So you get more of like a Spain situation and less of Nagasaki Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. The only problem was when they got into position to begin this holding pattern, they realized that their problem had worsened. They had lost something along the lines of 37,000 pounds of fuel in 3 minutes. They were basically leaking 2 Ford F-150s weight in fuel every 60 seconds. Yes, Americans will use literally anything but the metric system. The crew knew that this was not sustainable and the plane was going down, so they tried turning back around. The only thing these men wanted was to get back to Seymour Johnson. I'm sorry, I'm done, I promise. It quickly became clear that this plane was not going to make it back to base. This is when they decided to abandon the plane and bail out. Out of the original crew of 8, 1 didn't survive the parachute landing and 2 died in the crash, leaving 5 total survivors. Interestingly enough, the 3rd pilot, Lieutenant Adam Maddox, became the only person to ever successfully bail out of the top hatch of a B-52 without an ejection seat and survive. Not only did he survive, he went on to live a long, happy life. The plane itself ended up breaking up in mid-air about 1,000 to 2,000 feet above the ground. This left a debris field over a roughly 2 square mile area around Faro, North Carolina, which is like 20 minutes northeast of Goldsboro. The debris, of course, included, well, the 2 devices specifically designed to level entire cities. So what happened to the 2 nukes? Good.
That's what I was wondering. Did some farmer like go the Appalachians like go up to him and be like, what is this thing? And then he, you know, somehow gets it, takes it home, and then it's unaccounted for. Is that where they are? The missing nukes? Are they by hillbillies
news
or what?
And fucking horrifying news.
Yeah.
The good news is, miraculously, neither bomb detonated. One of them was able to parachute in a controlled...
I'm going to need a little bit more help then, because he was kind of saying how like amazing it was that they didn't. I was under the impression that, again, it would take, again, something far more powerful to be able to create the reaction that you would need to actually, you know, detonate a bomb like this. Am I wrong on that? Let me know. What would it take? Is the crashing of a plane that holds nuclear weapon, is that enough to detonate that? Let me know.
Old manner down to the ground and was found standing upright with his parachute caught in a tree. The other, in a less controlled manner, slapped the earth at Mach fuck and buried itself. Thankfully, without detonating or even setting off the conventional explosives within the bomb itself.
Scale.
So neither bomb exploded and no innocent people on the ground were hurt. It's no big deal, right? Well, that leads us to the fucking horrifying part that I had mentioned earlier. This is the part that, for me, reading into this, made this particular case so interesting. Based on the information that was recently declassified in 2013, we now know that both bombs almost detonated. and pretty much by all means should have leveled that part of eastern North Carolina. Wow. You see, as you might imagine, there are a number of safety mechanisms on a nuclear bomb. Depending on which report you read, there were either 4 or 6 safety mechanisms on these particular bombs. Why there's a discrepancy on that? Your guess is as good as mine. Here's the fucked part though. All of the bomb safety mechanisms were tripped and ready to blow, except for one. Now that is an oh fuck moment, but don't worry.
Basically armed?
Gets worse. The one safety that didn't fail was different on each bomb. That means there wasn't just one Chad well-built safety mechanism on this thing and a bunch of jank ones. These 2 doomsday devices didn't go off because of fucking luck. That's like 2 people playing Russian roulette with 5 out of 6 cylinders loaded and somehow both survive. Anyhow, the first bomb that was standing upright with the parachute and all that was basically intact, so that was an easy recovery. So the recovery team was able to disarm it and send it on its way to, I actually have no idea where you send a slightly used nuke that just survived a crash landing, but
the deserts of Nevada or Utah.
Government took it somewhere safe because you don't want to lose one of those. Again, the second bomb was a different story. It had broken apart in impact and was stuck in a pretty deep hole that it dug by lawn darting itself into the earth. It was so deep that the tail was the first part that was found, and that was found 20 feet down.
It's scary to be one of the
around trying to find the rest of it. They accidentally hit an underground water reservoir, which couldn't have made their job easier. Upon finding the majority of the second bomb, Lieutenant Jack Revell, who was the EOD officer in charge of recovery at the time, was quoted as saying, "Until my death, I will never forget hearing my sergeant say, 'Lieutenant, we found the arm safe switch.' And I said, 'Great.' He said, 'Not great. It's on arm.'" So yeah, that's pretty sketch. I figure now is a pretty good time to give you a little context for where we're talking.
Well, was it arm? What was that? Yeah, was that switch because of the landing? Like, I mean, the crash, or because it already was beforehand, like in the plane?
About here. In the year 1960, around 28,000 people lived in the city of Goldsboro alone. Had these devices gone off and leveled the town, instantly the death count would have been 10 times that of 9/11. And most locals don't even know that they were one sketchy rocker switch failure away from it. So like most Cold War stories of a catastrophic government fuck up, we have a bit of a government cover-up story. Because,
because I mean, that's such a major thing that would become, the media would love to talk about that, right? The 60s, or in the mass media era now, would love to do that. So it seems like it was a pretty successful cover-up. So what'd they do?
The second bomb was never fully recovered. The thermonuclear stage of the bomb was basically left intact, although they did take the pit, or the core. This is the part that contains the uranium and plutonium that makes the nuke do the
expensive parts
nuke thing. So with the core in hand, the government just called it good, left the rest of it a nuclear weapon just chilling in the ground. Just a reminder, a lot of the things I'm talking about here were just declassified like 10 years ago, letting it slip during the Cold War that the feds were losing nukes routinely and then just leaving half of them around because they got tired of digging. Not a great look. The Army did, however, purchase a 400-foot diameter easement on the property and forbid any structure from being built on top of it. Although they did say that the area is okay for farming. Farming on top of an almost live nuclear weapon. I mean, this isn't nearly as bad as like Chernobyl levels of government cover-up, but it's alarmingly similar in tone. Now, this last bit I absolutely have to mention because I think it's fucking hilarious. It's like the perfect cherry on top of this story. This is the historical marker that marks this incident. This is fucking hilarious. This was almost the worst nuclear disaster in human history. And the only reason you would ever know it happened is this little plaque. That makes it sound like it is absolutely not as big of a deal as it definitely was.
Who put that up? There's some information, it looks like, on the bottom of the sign, but I can't tell. Like, who put that up and when was it put up? So it says nuclear mishap. If you're listening to me and not being able to see the video, there's a sign, nuclear mishap, B-52 transporting 2 nuclear bombs crashed, January 1961. Widespread disaster averted. 3 crewmen died 3 miles south.
So yeah, that's how an entire section of North Carolina almost received a Darwin Award at the hands of the federal government. Gosh. The same government that still has control over our nuclear arsenal and loses these things so often that they have a fucking term for it. Broken arrow. More like missing doomsday device, but you know, hey, cool name. I know it's not our usual format, but I love learning about history almost as much as I love being able to share cool parts of that history with you guys. If you want to see more of this style of content, let me know. I think it's really fun. And if there's other specific things you'd like me to cover or cool history rabbit holes you'd like for me to go down, leave them down in the comments. I might just check them out. Be sure to subscribe for more, and of course for more gun videos, Darwin Awards, gun meme review, all the stuff you know we do. Anyhow, I appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I'll see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video.
All right, final thoughts. Don't go anywhere. I know it seems frightening to when we hear about these stories, especially because they have been kind of swept under the rug for decades. And as time goes, you're going to hear more and more about this. Makes you think that we really were closer than we think to that DEFCON 5 kind of thing, where it's with all the nukes, right? All the nukes that are out there, the more nukes you have, the more the possibility for an accident is to happen. And it shows you the height of the Cold War hysteria. I think that's the historical context we need to understand. We're talking about the 60s here, right? Peaks in 62 with the Cuban Missile Crisis, but of course it's still going to be in the background going in, like we're saying, in the later 60s. And then, you know, the rearmament that happens in the 80s. But to see how real of a threat it really was in the world, right? And again, all these different programs that could have problems like this one did, that could have been this incredible catastrophe, right up there with something like a Chernobyl, you know what I mean? So it does give us, again, the closest again to society, or to humankind ever being extinct. So the question is, going forward, are we going to continue to put these threatening things into play, or is it going to be a realization of these dangers and trying to make things safer? Because we're still not, we still haven't answered that question. We still haven't. So what do you think about this kind of stuff? Let me know down below. All right, great recommendation. New channel, Brandon, to check out. We'll have to see if we got some other stuff relevant to the stuff that we like to cover over here. Thanks again for being here. We'll see you next time. Bye.